Okay, so riding horse. So what riding horse is primarily, which we don't normally discuss, is a container. So it's like you're making a cylinder which contains this space here that you're hugging, and you are drifting back into the circumference, if you like, into the actual container itself. So you become the container rather than the contained. And what you're containing is just this rising energy, which you're not just containing, you're tending, you're taking care of it. So you've got this hugging space here, which is obvious, but you also want to feel this, like the knees going out and hugging the container down here. So I'm sinking within myself, which is not just allowing a rising energy to come up through me, but actually filling this space in front of me. And it's not my place to even feel this rising energy. I simply contain it. And the more I can get myself out of the way of that, the less I will interfere with what's coming up. And so I am standing, I am containing, I am tending that which I contain. And then as you stand, you begin to realize that you are also contained. There's an energy behind you that is encircling you. So you're nested, if you like. And so as I tend to this, with this part of myself, I also wake up to my back, which is connecting to that energy behind, which is containing me. So as we stand, the mind naturally gathers in the dantian, the min-meng, and the sacrum. So they sort of belong together. So the sacrum, because the sacrum is splitting me into these two legs. So I'm trying my best to relax this whole area so that the energy can actually pass through those joints unimpeded. And so as we're standing, we want the vertical spine, so the tailbone hanging down heavily, which is stretching my lower back and sending my min-meng a little bit backwards, and the top of the head suspended from the ceiling. So very much like a plumb line. And then I have to release these two sacroiliac joints to allow that split across, because it changes direction. The down suddenly starts going out rather than just straight down like this. So that requires a change in angle. So a change in velocity effectively. And so I am sinking, and the energy is rising up through me, but also in front of me. So in a sense, the most important part of your body in relation to the rising energy is your feet, because they're the interface between you and the ground. So you want to just really feel the feet sort of spreading out. You're in the outside edges, so you don't want to let the arches collapse by dropping the knees in. But the feet really feel like they're expanding and growing, and the toes are spreading. So you're getting as much contact as possible with the ground. And then you just relax into that contact, and then something will start rising up through you. But what we want to, we just really need to be mindful of the fact that there's a very different mood associated with the downward than there is with the upward. So the downward has a slightly sort of depressive sort of, the image of Christian humility, yeah? Where you're just sort of almost groveling, sinking down, almost like a sadness flows through you to connect you to the ground. But then up through that, there's this rising energy, which is very light. And there's like a happiness to it, a joy. So we have to appreciate that these two belong together, that the joy, the lifting levity comes from the gravity. The more I can allow myself to be pulled down, the more lifting energy I will get coming up through me and into this space here. So when you release across here, what it will feel like is that your bum is sort of drifting backwards because that area is expanding. So as this expands, it sort of wants me to bend double. And then you just have to feel the hands of your teacher supporting that and driving that down into the legs. Yeah. So in one sense, you are sticking your bum out, but in another sense, you're pulling it in. Yeah? So this is what's difficult about Tai Chi. We're always doing both things at the same time, but with slightly different minds. Yeah, so again, part of me is almost falling back into this container. And another part of me, the guardian behind me, is just easing me forwards. So it just takes time to pluck up the courage, really, to just let go into the posture. So we're just sort of getting to the brink. If I was to relax my legs anymore, they would collapse beneath me. So I'm right at that trembling edge. My bum is going back, but it's being pushed forwards. This is dropping down, and the rising energy is lifting it up. Yeah? So there's all these opposites that are just working together. And just feel the back. It feels like you become like a hedgehog, like you've got all these spines, all these bristles sticking out of your back. So this is very soft and comfortable, if you like, here, this space. But behind you, you're really quite prickly. You've got all this detail emanating from the back of you. So the longer you stand, the more this part of you almost shrinks, and the more the back expands out. Yeah, so it's like you have a spine, you have a bristle that connects with every point in the room. Yeah, so your energy's exploring all around you from your back, at the back of the arms as well. Yeah. So we've brought the back around. This is what we do with the limbs. Okay, now just bring the hands down. Now you just want to get used to just using the hands to help this area relax and for the tail to drop down, because it's always tending to tense up and the tail is always tending to stick back. Yeah, so as soon as any activity comes into the body or the mind, then your tail will tend to go back. Yeah, so there's this sense of sinking and splitting into this leg, which would require you to lean slightly. And then there's the sense of sinking and splitting into this leg. It's like something comes, almost like a liquid, a viscous liquid pours out of the joint, the sacroiliac joint, and just sort of dribbles down your leg. Yeah. So let's just tilt slightly, so just feel that. So you've got something coming down, and then it just flows across that joint. So by tilting, you're just helping it. It's like you're tipping the water out of the jug. You're just allowing something just to pour down the leg, but it's really thick, so it takes time to come out of the jug. It's like honey or treacle or something. Yeah, so it's flowing down, oozing down your leg into the ground. And then you just come back up. And then this side, just tipping over, feeling this joint, the sacroiliac, where this hand is. Yeah. Just let it open up and let something flow out and down the leg. So what's useful about having your hand here is you can actually feel it open up, and the hand will help prevent the tail flicking out, because when my tail flicks out, it'll just stop the energy. So that's the difficulty really, is keeping the bum in. So if I just, something flows out here, feel how it helps the knee come out. So you're almost coming onto the outside edge here, almost off the foot, and it just flows down here. Yeah, so doing one at a time like this it's generally easier to feel than when we do both together. So just something comes out of this joint and it drips down my leg. And then you can just bring the energy up the inside. That's the rising energy, if you like. So this is the sinking energy. So we want to feel the physicality of the energy. So what sort of physical qualities does it have? So this thing of like being like a thick liquid. But then the energy that comes up is really light and it's got like a life. It's like an ivy that's creeping up your leg. So here, releasing, something heavy drips out of you. And then here, something's creeping and crawling up your leg into the Danshin, and then this side. One. So you want to really sort of just really release the leg. It's like you're just bending down to pick up your toolbox or something. And so, ooh. So I'm just really oozing across. It's like my buttock is melting down my hamstring. Yeah, just feel the different emotions. So the sinking almost has like a sadness, almost like you're just sort of wanting to just fall asleep. You can't face it all. And then the rising has like a cheerfulness, a sort of happiness, a lightness. So here something is rising up. Ooh. And then, ooh. So all that sort of heavy. Ooh. And then something comes up. So the sinking will tend to make you bend double. It will tend to make the heart drop. And then the rising will make you come back up again. So those two emotions have to be present all the time. Because when we're living our life, we're not sinking and then rising. We're doing both. Gravity is pulling at us and the earth is pushing up through us all the time. Whoa. Yeah, so the sinking requires me to open the joints. And then the rising, it's like it's inching its way through the bones, up the bones. It's sort of creeping. So remember, the energy tends to flow down the outside and the back of the leg, and then it tends to come up the inside and the front of the leg. So out of this joint, flowing down here, and then up into this point or this point. Doesn't really matter which. So whoa. Yeah, so that sinking energy, it's almost like a ripple of opening. It's like the joint. So this joint opens, and then this one, and then the knee, and then the ankle. And that sort of sucks the energy along with it. So something in me has to really release here to allow this to open up, for the energy to come from the sacrum and jump across to the hip bone. And then from the hip bone to the thigh, from the thigh to the shin. So the problem areas are always the joints, you know. Can you let the joint be open so that the energy can jump across? So, ooh. And it does, it feels like a ripple. Ooh, something in me just lets go and it allows this ripple to come out. But then, of course, something in me has to be really holding on to my structure, otherwise I'll just collapse. Ooh. So when I'm working with people, you know, we do lots of exercises where I get them to lean on me. Yeah, so I'm sort of being a support, and they just lean their body on me, and I support them. And what I'm trying to do really is just get them to really release their legs, so that it's me supporting them and not their legs, because we tend to use far too much strength in our legs because we're frightened of falling. And you can actually get away with much less strength. And when you use less strength, then of course it allows more energy in. If your legs are hard because they're using too much strength, there'll be no energy anywhere. So I'm just trying to just really relax this leg. How far can I take it? And you won't collapse. But you will shake. Yeah, so when you get that tremble, that is like a sign of physical exertion, that just means you've got there. You've got to that place of real relaxing, just right on the edge. So something comes out of here like a wing. It's like a wing of energy comes out of my sacroiliac and it just flows down here. It's not even on the leg, it's right out. And then something comes up, the ivy grows up my leg. Here a wing comes out. And then something is really creeping up here. It's quite creepy. So what? Ooh. Okay, so now let's just try coming back to riding horse. So just bring the feet in a bit because they do tend to slide out. So just feel your two halves sort of flaring away from your spine. So we want the min meng to sort of push back. So like the small of my back is almost reversing. It's almost pushing out from my spine rather than pulling in like this. It doesn't really, it just feels like it does. And what that does, it really binds together your upper and lower body. So without that, you'll always be like this. You'll always be a lower body supporting an upper body. So what I'm trying to do is get my Dan Chen to pull in, my Min Meng to push back. And then you just get this feeling you're just body as one unit. You're just one thing. You're no longer upper and lower. Yeah, so we have to begin to appreciate that what matters, it's not really the body, it's the mind that contains the body. So it's the quality of the mind, the quality of the affection. Yeah, so how are you feeling? What are you feeling? And I have some control over that mind. So if I feel there's not enough rising energy balancing the heavy sinking, then I just need to become more cheerful. I just need to change my mind. I have a change of heart. And I just make myself cheerful. I just imagine something that makes me happy. And then you can feel this rising energy beginning to sort of equilibrate with the sinking. So we use the emotions, we use our feelings. And if you have too much sort of get up and go, if you've been rushing around all day, you've got all this bustling, busy energy, it's obvious you just need to sort of settle. Yeah, and that's that depressive sort of sinking. That's necessary to just wash you clean of that busyness. And then after you get that sinking, then you can get the fineness of that rising energy. And then it's the spirit that's rising, not the ego. It's not the self. Okay, now just fold the hands in and just touch the fingertips together. So a bit like prayer posture, but without the hands touching, just the fingertips. And just feel this space that you've been embracing. Yeah, so this is what I call the church. Yeah. So if you think of a church as like a architectural structure designed to beam the good energy of the congregation up to heaven. Yeah, so it's like a spire that is directing the spirit of that gathered congregation upward. Yeah, so this is the same thing here. It's like your hands are just with this rising energy. So you're just becoming a little bit more mindful of it. And because it's a space that you're tending rather than the space that's actually you yourself, you can really feel you're serving this. Yeah? And so you don't want to go with it. You don't want to come up with it. You realize intuitively that you have to sink. Your body has to sink down in order to stimulate this energy to come up. And it's very important that you don't disturb this space. So it's a real honor to be able to place your hands into it. It's beautiful when you do this with another person. So basically we just lean against each other like this, like the two hands. Each hand is a person. And you can really feel how that combined lift that comes from these two bodies just leaning face to face, hand to hand. Just there's such a strong lift. So all the time, just relaxing the legs more and more and more. Because we're looking for that place where the whole body starts trembling. So it's always quite frightening. It's the problem with this work. The stronger you get, the longer it takes to get there. Okay, now let's just try just to like it. So first, let's just try that one where we just lift up and we just come down with that energy coming down the spine, and then just really feel the sacroiliacs just releasing to let that weight down the legs, and then up again. So what do I need to do with my mind to let this split happen naturally without me having to sort of force it either with my mind or my body? I want to let it. You want to allow the things to happen rather than make them happen. So, oh. So something in me has to let go here, oh, to allow that split diagonally down the legs. Yeah, so to get this split, my knees really have to be working away from each other. But if I work them too much, then it will tend to push the bum back. So there's always a fine line. Ooh. And then here, ah, and ugh. It's just getting that release without collapsing. Oh. Okay, and then back to the container. Okay, let's just come up a bit. Okay. So what we want to use the legs to draw, almost suck energy from the ground into the body. So rather than simply being a structure that is pushing me up and keeping me upright, they're like little siphons. Yeah. So let's just do like a Tai Chi walk. Yeah. So I just let the foot go out, and as soon as it hits the ground, I want to feel as though it's pulling the ground. Now that does two things. It pulls me towards it, but also it sucks energy out of the ground and up the leg to here and then here. And then this leg can go forwards, and that leg sort of sucks energy. And so we have to stop thinking of the legs purely as supporting structures, as like pillars, and more like tubes, which are sucking energy, like a straw, like you're sucking a drink up with a straw. So I'm using the leg to draw energy up to this hip and then into the sacroiliac, into the sacrum, if I can keep this joint open. Now, so keeping these two joints here and the sacroiliacs open requires me to really keep my knees out. If I let my knees collapse in, then it just won't jump across this joint. See, it's just too closed, so I have to really keep it open. And that helps me keep the bum in, and it helps the energy get across from the leg, rising up the leg and into the down chin. So you just want to feel that energy creeping up the leg, like the ivy again. It's creeping up the leg to here. And then I can just pop the other leg out. And then as soon as it hits the ground, it's beginning to suck. I don't need to do anything physically. It's just the relaxation. It's just the fact that my leg is on the ground, relatively straight. So because it's relaxed, it's wanting to bend. And that's enough to get me coming across and you want that feeling of something rising up the leg to here. And then just let this one pop out. And again, so. Yeah, so John was really big on this. So it's not just you sinking into the ground, it's you sucking the ground up into you. So I'm just drawing here. And you can feel it, yeah. You can feel it like a sort of infection creeping up the bone. So something is crawling its way up inside me until it gets to here, and then I can just let this one fly out and whoa. Yeah, so you can just go through a form, yeah, just concentrating on this. You know, every time you bring your weight into a leg, just feel the energy coming up the leg and into the opposite hand. I mean, most of the form is sort of structured cross energy wise, so it's waiting to be explored. So the energy is coming up this leg, jumps into the sacrum, up the spine, and into this hand. Yeah. And then this leg is bending, this arm is bending, and it's come up this leg and into this hand. Ooh. So make sure you keep the knees out. And just let yourself lean over the leg. Don't try and stay vertical because you'll tend to bring your tailbone over the foot and the tailbone will get crushed. So just lean across and this one will pop out. Right, so something's coming up here and into this arm. And then something's coming up here and into this arm. Yeah, so you have to keep the knees out and you have to keep your bum in. So by that, I mean, don't let the bottom of the sacrum stick back. Whoa. Yeah, so this is very important because, we're trying to sort of reduce the self with all the sinking that we do, but something has to take its place. And it's just this rising energy, this sort of something coming up from the ground, like a cheerfulness, a levity that's whoa, coming up. And so I'm sucking with the foot, and something comes up here. Whoa. Yes, there's like a line of strength that's come up the leg, and it's enough for me then to just to pop the leg out and step. So whoa. And so I'm sinking into this leg, the strength is rising up, and then I can use it. It will naturally distribute into the other side of the body, but you can also get it to come up the same side. So this is like the long line through my body. So something's coming up the leg, across the back. Yeah. So just feel how you need to wriggle a little bit to sort of get it to come up and through you. So you need a lot of strength in the lower back. So the thing, so this is it's very dynamic, so you can't stop. You have to keep it moving, otherwise it will collapse. Yeah, so I can't do this. That requires me to be hard, to have a pillar beneath me. This is very much a jointed, an articulated structure that just is filling with energy all the time, and so it enables you to pop the foot out, but not suspend it. If I wanted to suspend the foot, I'd have to lean like this. And even then, it's really difficult. Whoa, something comes up. So it's a bit like a hose, when those firemen's hoses, they actually, when they're on the fire engine, they're all rolled up in a roll. And then once they attach them to the water, and the water starts traveling through, they become firm and straight. The same with the energy. Once I get the energy coming up, for a moment, it can just allow me enough support for the foot to pop out. Okay, so now let's just come back to riding horse. Yeah, so when we're standing like this, there should be a feeling of that. You don't want to become stiff and hard. The joints are really delicate. They're sort of breathing. So it's full of movement, full of potential, full of potency. Okay, and now let's just try a little bit of our sinking from attention posture. Yeah, so the beginning of the form, always a good place to start. Yeah, so just feel the legs. So the legs are sort of breathing. Yeah, so you've got this sort of almost like a bounce going on all the time, like a lilt, or like something inside you is singing a song. So there's a rhythm. So just feel the tailbone just hanging down. Feel this suspended, but gently. Don't stiffen the neck in order to get it, just feel it. And then just let the tailbone just get really heavy, and it will actually pull you down into these springy legs. And then you just release the tailbone, you just stop it being so heavy with your mind, and the legs will spring back and bring you back up. And then again, it pulls you down. So the lower down you get, the flatter the lower back becomes. And then you just let the tailbone be less heavy and the legs will spring back. Don't let them come completely to the top, otherwise your bum will flick out. And just so you're just breathing. So you're trying your best to stay in the middle and trying your best to let the knees ride out. If the knees ride out, then you'll stay open here and the energy can get across into the sacrum, into the hips and then the sacrum. So whoa, something's pulling down. Yeah, so just really try and get accustomed to just placing your hand on your lower back or your sacrum. It just brings your attention there. So when you've got your mind in your back, it tends not to be in the front. So the front can then just settle and withdraw. Yeah, so each leg is like a spring that you're lowering into, and then when you release the pressure, the spring naturally returns. Okay, now just feel the knees. Yeah, so the knees have a life of their own. It's like they're trying to venture out. They're trying to stray. They're trying to go out to the sides. They're not that interested in going forwards. They want to get away from you. Yeah, so you can see what's forwards. You can't really see here very well. So that's where the knees are trying to go. Ooh. So feel the rising as it's not your legs pushing you up, it's just your legs straightening because you've become less heavy. Yeah, so your legs are always just taking up the slack, if you like. If there's slack, then the energy won't travel through. So everything needs to be quite taut. A bit like the guitar string, and when the guitar string is really slack, it won't make a sound. So the coccyx is pulling down. And then the legs just take over. You squeeze up against that without breaking the thread. And then let it pull down again. Okay. Now, as we go down, we want to remain going down in the middle. So what we're trying to get away from is what we normally do, which is put the weight over the leg, sink, and then bring the other leg off the ground. Yeah. So that's me becoming a bit like a statue. So there's like a sort of, it's the wrong type of stillness. It's a stillness that can just endure too long. It's not natural. The stillness we want is a really delicate, poised equilibrium that's going to disappear in a split second. You can't hold something. So we want this feeling that we're just going down the middle. Yeah. Now just feel how your legs need to separate just to allow the tailbone to drop. Yeah. So you don't want your tailbone to bang into a leg. Now when we come over a leg like this, then my tailbone is basically going through my leg. It's getting crushed by this sandwich. It's like the filling in the sandwich between my leg and my body coming down. So I want real freedom in my coccyx. The tail is unbelievably important. Why people don't know that, I don't know. So just let it down. It comes down between the legs. Okay, now I need to step with one of the legs. So what I have to do is beckon this line of energy up the leg to here so that this can just pop out. Just like one of the steps in the Dalu. You know, where we step without putting the weight in the other foot. Yeah, so we're going down and I'm just sucking the ground like we did when we did the walk. Yeah. So as I go down, I'm just letting this leg suck the ground preferentially, but not by coming over it like this. I'm still trying to go down the middle, but this leg is drawing the strength up to here, and then this can pop out. Yes, so you see how you've got this curve in this leg. It curves like this. That's very important because then the energy here goes through and sends the other foot out. If I just had the leg like this, it would just bring the energy up. Yeah, so I'm wanting to step with it. So I just sink, feel the strength here coming up, and just really joining here, and then this can then just pop out. And now I just move into this foot. So this foot that's popped out, now because it had like a ripple of energy burst into it from this rising leg, now it can just soften. And that softening will bring me into it. But that softening also brings the energy up from the ground so that there's enough strength in the leg to support me momentarily. Yeah. So it's a strange business, because the leg is softening and emptying at the same time that it's filling up with the energy from the ground. It's not filling with my weight, with my energy. It's just drawing energy up. Okay, so now again, so now we'll step that way. So I just sink down the middle. I just keep this knee out so that I can get this curve coming up to fly this foot out. Yeah. So I just come up, the energy comes up, the strength comes up to here, and then this foot just pops out. And then I just let it soften. You don't want to let it soften too soon, so you don't want to fall into the leg. The leg pops out, and then I soften. And that draws me across, and at the same time, it brings strength up to here so that this leg can pop back. Yeah, so it's just a simple, very simple step. Okay, so let's try stepping this one now. So I'll just let the coccyx down. Feel this coming up. So just try your best not to drift across. If you do that, then the leg isn't filling with strength, or not the right sort of strength. It's just being forced to be supported by a weight bearing on it. I want this active strength to come up the leg from the ground until I feel it hitting here, and then I can just let this foot out. And then I just allow this foot to draw me across. And again, there's a line of strength coming up. As soon as I feel it here, then I can let this foot fly up. And you can, this is how we step in the form. Yeah, so I mean, this is, so you can just use this. You just, the form is the place where we practice our new insights. Yeah, so up here and do, and then pull. All the time my tail is hanging, dangling down like a plumb line. And then I just come up to give myself a bit of a rest. Yeah. And then again, just sinking down. This is coming. Get rid of the brats. And cross, pull up. And do. Yeah, so just feel that as you sink, you just change. You just become a different person. You become a person who's just really, really interested. Yeah. So as you sink down, it's filling you with this inquisitive energy because you're remaining soft. Yeah. So something's coming up this leg to here, and then I just let this pop across. Yeah. If I wanted to do it in really slow motion, if I wanted the foot coming up to be slow as well, then I'd just have to lean like this to bring the foot. Yeah. So never be afraid of leaning. Yeah. What you don't want is to do the opposite of that, which is to push this hip out like this. Yeah. So just just think of the sacrum sort of staying in the middle as much as you can. So I go down, this comes up, and then here, and then I come here. Yeah. So by moving into the foot, I'm drawing energy up from the ground into my dantian. And from there, I can take it wherever I like. So down, this, yeah, so the knee out is so important. Or it comes in here, throws this leg out. It's like a slingshot. It's like you just chucked the foot with the energy that's come up. And then here, this is sucking this foot. Whoa. Yeah. So just feel when you catch something too well, it all goes to pop because your bum flicks out, because you get excited. Yeah. So here I just want to, yeah, so I need this ground of sort of this sober humility, if you like. And then I can lay my excitement on top of that, but without obliterating it. Whoa. So here again, so something is coming up. It's that rising energy we're after. So we're just training the body just to bring rising energy up from the ground all the time. And that is happiness. Yeah. That's as good as it gets. Yeah. So happiness is just the mood that you have to induce to allow this energy freely up from the ground and into your body. It's what Spinoza called it, joy. So up and in. Yeah, so what makes it so difficult is that it's so easy to cheat. It's so easy to create an image of this with the ego, with completely the wrong sort of mind. But then it just won't have the energy. It won't have that delicate, what John called delight. Yeah, so that's, so one has to really become, that has to be that, like, if you like, paramount in one's life. That's sort of the delight of something breaking through, like the unknown breaking through into you. So you become this channel for something that you've got no idea what it is. Yeah. It's completely beyond your control. So you're just a container. Wow. Couple more, one each side. Okay, so just feel the coccyx. And then just let it go down. Coccyx just lowers and the knee goes out. So those are the two activities, if you like. Yeah. So my coccyx going down, it's a bit like a passive activity. I'm just letting gravity pull it. Now my knee going out, that's very active. Yeah. So that's attached to the rising cheerfulness, if you like. So my knee going out, trying to stray here, trying to escape, if you like, is what allows that energy to come up and throw this foot out. And then as I bend this leg again, I've got to keep my coccyx hanging. I don't want this to happen. And I just allow the knee, it's the knee straying that takes me across. Ooh, and then that's enough to allow this to happen. Okay, so now one more in this direction. Just feel the coccyx. Okay, now I just let it lower and I let my knee go out. And then this pops out. Yeah. So there needs to be that pause before you come across, otherwise it's too easy just to sort of fall into it and get it coming from the wrong place. And then here I just very, very gently, it's like a miracle because I'm yielding this leg, I'm softening this leg and yielding it, but at the same time it's supporting me. So how is that happening? Yeah. It's allowing energy to come up from the ground just long enough to let this happen. Yeah. Okay. So now let's just come back into here. So just feel the joints. They should all feel a little bit more gooey, more relaxed. And just feel yourself containing. Yeah, so you're containing this space, but you're also containing your interior. Yeah, so you're serving. Yeah, so as you stand in a still posture, you're concentrating on the movement. So you're feeling the sinking down. You're feeling the ground thrusting up through you. You're feeling the elbows wanting to sort of hang and drop. You're feeling your back, your shoulders coming round into the arms. So you're balancing all these movements. So it never has a chance to freeze or stiffen. So it's full of movement. It's got this sort of flowy, ripply. Like a bush or a tree, you know, when the wind blows, you see like a ripple go through the leaves. Yeah, so this is so, you know, the work that we do, if you like, it's the journey out of ignorance, if you like. But the opposite of ignorance for us is not knowledge, but refinement. Yeah. So an ignorance is like a coarse lumpishness. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is refine. We break that coarseness up into as many fine particles as possible. And then we just get them all to work together in equilibrium. And then that's a medium then that can transmit energy beautifully. It's like a liquid. It's got so many different little parts. It's almost molecular, like a liquid. Okay, now let's just bring the hands back into that church. It's a pity Mary's not here because her surname is Kirk. Ooh. So you're feeling this rising energy. Just feel how your elbows are pulling down, and that is actually squeezing the hands upwards. Yeah, so the sinking produces the rising. Your tailbone is dropping down. Okay, and now let's just bring this foot up, and down. And then just bring these, yeah. Doesn't matter how vigilant you are, the bum always flicks out. Okay, great.